Greetings, fellow Gothamites. Tiki here.
And Bluedragonfive. Over 10 years ago, as the Dark Knight changed things forever, we lost the actor who made it happen. Heath Ledger delivered the ultimate performance that left us eternally wanting more. While we all thought we saw the last of his portrayal as the Clown Prince of Crime, two men unearthed amazing footage of what he might have done next.
The job falls to us to comb over the files and documented exploits of Patient 4479 in this ultimate tribute to the role of a lifetime. Let's start today's session with the Season 2 premiere, Fall of the House of Arkham.
Bum, bum, bum.
I'm not even going to beat around the bush. This was fantastic. I don't know what else you want me to say at this point. If I were to have one nitpick at all, and this isn't even really fair, it's that I do think the Lex Luthor stuff, while very comedic, is maybe almost a little too broadly comedic for the Nolan setting of it all. But I mean, that's like such a minor nitpick, and I enjoy the Luthor stuff so much that it really doesn't matter. I mean, this is just gold right here. It's gold. Just very, very, very Nolan-esque. I definitely think that this is the episode for me that sort of got me into the rhythm of our Harley Quinn and where we're going to be going with her. So I'm very excited about everything moving forward, Dragon. This is incredibly promising premiere. I'm almost kind of envious of the people that were here to watch this all unfold in real time.
Yeah, this is a momentous part of our journey, Tiki. We are in, we're essentially entering phase, kind of Act 3 of our story right now in terms of what we're doing here for our purposes of recapping this. So this is it's pretty big. I don't have no idea how you're gonna respond to the end of this journey. I'll say that much.
Interesting.
I have no Tiki. I'm gonna be. It's gonna be interesting, and I could quote a line from The Dark Knight, but it would be a bit of a giveaway if I did that right now. So I'm not going. Regardless, so this is the official start of season 2, or as they give it like the UK branding, Series 2 of the Joker blogs. After we've gotten through kind of the prelude segment, that is further evidence. This episode is our proper introduction to Lex Luthor as a player in our story, not just the Kevin Spacey Lex Luthor cameo at the end of the first season. Which, yes, folks, that is Kevin Spacey. Technically, they kind of configured it and used the audio from Superman Returns. But, it's this episode, I think, is the most we've, again, this just to show you, again, the season 2 they've been building with further evidence by exploring the other characters, has been, we're playing with the cinematic. We kind of had found footage in different varieties in further evidence, but also we dipped into a bit of the cinematic, like, we've escaped the found footage limitation of the first season. Not limitation in a bad way, just kind of like the old sandbox of the first season. Now we're branching out. In this episode, we are... their solution for, we can't really necessarily go all over Gotham is, the second season is primarily set in a kind of lockdown situation at Arkham Asylum.
Nice. Yeah. It basically feels like an extended, Act 3 of a Nolan movie.
Oh, for sure. And that's the thing. I remember we're in Arkham very briefly in the Nolan.
Oh, I know. Really. I very much remember. Yes, it was one of the few blank spots in Nolan's trilogy, I felt.
So let's just say this is so far in the series, and debatably, again, as far as I'm concerned, this lumps into the Nolan stuff. With one thing, there's one thing that's going to be up for debate in season 2, which we'll get to. But regardless, it's this is the most we've kind of explored the Arkham facility, either or. We're really all over the place in here, as you're going to see. We kind of begin in here, but it's the fact in terms of practicality. Because remember, when we shot Arkham Asylum in the show, we've only really seen in 2 shots. You have the basement, which is where you had all the patient interview sessions, which just has the white wall behind the Joker. And then you have when he escaped, you saw a bit more of the college campus, which presumably is where they're shooting all of this. Because looking at it, unfortunately, I can't say one way or another if we are officially still in that college campus or not. My inkling is that it is a college campus because certain shots, if you look at it and you think about it, I could see that being like kind of like a wing where students would walk through, or like kind of like a corridors and hallways and stuff. I mean, it looks consistent with that one glimpse that we did see in season one. So that is my inclination. But again, I can't say authoritatively. Just one other note, two other notes to make, and then we'll just move on right into it. So season two, as you can probably sense, even with this the title of this episode alone, season two really takes shape story wise because Steve Maloney, the actor who plays Jeremiah Arkham, he impressed them so much, and they loved working with him so much. They kept Dr. Arkham kept coming back and getting a bigger and bigger role, and he's got a very substantial role in season two because Maloney's great.
Makes sense, yeah.
So it just kind of goes to show you, folks, make a good impression, give it your all, and you never know what's going to happen. That's why some of the best players in the Albuquerqueverse keep coming back.
Yeah, exactly.
And so here's something to know. Here's something trippy and heady to know, especially since we now enter 2023. So this premiered, season two officially premiered May 6th, 2013. Now, obviously, just in a matter of months, it'll be 10 years, but just to kind of jump ahead a little bit, 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So just
Dragon,
filed.
it's been a month of milestones on my behalf because it's the 10-year anniversary of doing podcasts on this channel, and it's also the 20-year anniversary of me adopting the moniker of Tiki as of New Year's Eve 2002. So yeah, it's been a heady month of anniversary as on my end.
So I bring that up just so you can file away two things. You can file away that, again, this is post Dark Knight Rises, which again, they were allowed to read the script of Dark Knight Rises in advance of this season. So they knew things about that movie that do get, we have like one reference in this episode. So there is
Yeah,
some.
at first that bothered me. I was like, wait a minute, isn't she dead? And I was like, oh yeah, it's an in-between quarrel.
Uh-huh. This is right. This is kind of between probably, I estimate, if I'm correct, I believe probably a year and a few months since The Dark Knight.
Yeah, roughly. That sounds about right.
Into the 8 year kind of jump between Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises. That's kind of where we are roughly in all this. And also, just remember, it's been 10 years since this thing. That's all you want to. I won't tell you why. Just 10 years.
Oh dear. Oh no.
Anyway.
Oh boy, I have a bad feeling about what you're hinting at, Dragon. Oh god.
Okay.
Oh god.
Let's get into
Are we
it.
walking into a hornet's nest, Dragon?
You'll see.
Okay, all right, great.
Let's just say I had multiple motivations in my little plan here.
Well, it's fantastic so far, so we'll see how it goes.
Okay, so Fall of the House of Arkham. So we open things with the Joker. It's unclear and intentionally unclear when the Joker has left this, presumably before this episode. But the question of before he's put in maximum security, I guess at some point, Joker. But again, we're kind of playing with time per a Nolan thing here, so this could be in the midst of our story for all we know. It's unclear. We don't know when this was left, but Joker has left a message for the Batman in a video message, which again a little akin to the whole found footage aspect of the first season.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Basically, we build up to the classic Joker. We aren't going to see him in the classic Joker look for a while because, as you saw in the further evidence in this, he's still beaten up and without the makeup, which is very eerie to see.
That's totally fine with me because him without his makeup is just it's a haunting image, and I love it.
And that's just the makeup. The guy's being beaten severely on a regular basis too in the face.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So we have basically this speech at the top of things, which basically reframes this basically establishes what the Joker's goal is for season two, which is a continuation of kind of his underlining motivation in the first season, which is she's gonna be mine. Last time we met, I ended things badly. I want to set things right. And I know Gordon's going to get this to you in time. Of course, when he mentions Gordon, I'm getting really excited. Like, oh, and yeah, we remember we kidnapped. Dr. Arkham has Barbara Gordon Sr. in his clutches right now. Remember that.
Mm-hmm.
So Gordon's definitely going to have a stake in this in this season. When Gordon he's going to get this to you in time because I have a backup plan. Plan B. The B stands for boom. He's laughing his head off. So, so again, Joker's goal here is seemingly to patch things up with the Harleen to Harley Quinn business and kind of that arc. He's going to push her off the edge, seemingly. That seems to be kind of the intent here.
Yeah, and it definitely seems like, as I said, throughout the course of the episode, we kind of get a really good picture of how that's going to come to pass. So,
Yeah.
all right. So,
So we
meanwhile,
go.
over
Yeah.
in the Soarin' Over California pre-show,
Yeah, so we jump from the found footage teaser to Lex Luthor's campaign video, which I debated showing you this because they put the campaign video out before this, but literally the whole video is in this, so I figured we just talk about it as it shows up here. So, what do you think of the campaign video?
I like it a lot, and as I said, like I don't want to, I don't want to speak for the people. Like I don't know for sure if this is exactly the Soarin' Over California music or if this was intentional. But Lex Luthor definitely, to me, in this bit has a Patrick Warburton and Soren pre-show vibe. The way he's listing off like Gotham City, Metropolis, like Dragon. I swear to God, all this needs is like Lex Luthor adjusting some little kid's hat and saying "Nice work, pal" with a thumbs up.
Right.
But
Yes.
yeah, I really like it. And then as we get into the actual like the behind the scenes of it all, like I said, Dragon, it's like it's the one thing I could point to as a nitpick if I didn't actually enjoy this stuff so much. But I do think the comedy is a little too broad for Nolan with
I
the
have
whole like fire that guy, fire that guy.
Well, I have one. I have a different nitpick with this episode, which unfortunately is something I carry over from the first season. It's like my only issue I ever had with the show, which got a little worse in this this first episode, but only for like a moment. Then it kind of gets swept under the rug. But real quick before I do that, and before we just dig in on this, I just want to shout out some Easter eggs here, which are kind of good and kind of like for the take on Lex that they are doing here. So again, in the comics, what happens is Lex becomes president. One of his big platforms to become president is he helped Gotham after the earthquake, No Man's Land. So this obviously Nolan does his own take on No Man's Land. So this is kind of like a fill-in where Lex Luthor is helping to fix up Gotham from what the Joker's done to it. So that's kind of one of his big campaign platforms. So they're kind of homaging the comics in a way there. So that's kind of the main. So that's why he wanted Arkham Asylum. So in case that wasn't just again, we kind of covered that at the end of last season, but just so now it's in full. Now we fully know what went on there. And here's the thing with the Soren-esque music, it always felt like a nod to the Superman documentary that came out way back when, called "Look Up in the Sky: The Amazing Story of Superman," which always sounded like a splicing in there. But you're right, though.
Did that come out post 2002?
Yeah.
Then it could have very well been the Soren music.
Okay.
Because the Soren music is one of those things, like kind of like the dinosaur trailer or the Requiem for a Dream score, where it just kind of gets used in things. But anyways,
not by it. It seemed there's like kind of a universal appeal, and I could see it being kind of like something they could believe, like let's slip it in there without having to pay the royalties because people say I know that from somewhere they won't be able to pinpoint it.
right.
So other thing too is this
Except
is
for
mentioned.
obsessive Disney park fans,
Of course. So one other thing, they mentioned in the basically the idea of Lex Luthor, he's helping out Gotham. He's giving people a lot of jobs, and he's helping the farming industry, which is kind of a screw you to Clark Kent in kind of a tongue in cheek way. Like he doesn't even know it, but he's kind of like, oh man, Superman must be rolling his eyes at this. And then there's the Titano incident. Now Titano, I forget if traditionally Lex is linked to this character or not, but the point being, Titano was like an Easter egg, like on the when Joker left his phone message to make his deal with Lex and further evidence, and also just Titano. It's kind of a very broad Superman sort of thing. So my point in bringing that up too is that it feels like the whole reason Lex is in this. It very much feels like it was the whole Man of Steel rumblings of the time. The rumblings of like, what if Nolan took on Superman, which is a what if when they made the first
that
season.
makes sense. Sure.
See, it feels like a cross pollination. When the first season when Joker Blogs is first made, and it starts in 2009, it kind of ends roughly. Well, yeah, I believe it begins in 2009, it ends roughly 2010. That's just in the precipice of what if Nolan got his hands on Superman, which is why they threw Lex in there. And then by the time they're doing this, Man of Steel is it is again this coming out in 2013. Man of Steel's coming out this year, and in the process of making it, I'm sure Man of Steel's like, it's being talked about coming out. Maybe the
Have
trailer's
we
first out.
seen Eisenberg's performance yet? Did that
No,
trailer come out that I was initially stoked for?
no. Again, we don't get Eisenberg until that BVS. So this is like way before that.
Oh, right. Got it. Yeah.
No,
Okay.
Man of
Okay. That
Steel,
makes
which
sense. Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. So this is the point being like Nolan having hands in the new
Oh,
Superman movie.
little did we know we were so naive back then, Dragon.
So that's what I'm saying. I think ultimately that's why Lex is in. It's just kind of speculation of like, what if we bridged Nolan? Like we all speculated into the wider DC universe, and then of course Nolan is producing Man of Steel, so we can actually get away with this. So make Lex a main player in our story. And it felt like, honestly, it felt like this is kind of like a Nolanized version of Gene Hackman Lex, which is kind of a sleazy politician. So that's kind of interesting to me, and I think that's why we're kind of pushing the comedy, but it's still kind of like there is
Yeah,
a
like I said, I
reality.
enjoy it. I
Yeah,
just like compared to everything else in the episode, it does feel a little more broad.
that's true, but also is given the fact that we have everything else is so ashen in Gotham, it feels like, hey, Superman's kind of a bright character. We have a bit of a broader element with Lex Luthor. I don't know, it kind of balances that out, I suppose. And again, we'll see. There are layers to Lex, and we do glimpse a little layer at the end of this episode. It always fascinated me with this take on Lex, but we'll get there. Anyway, so the point being, we have Lex doing his campaign message here, and he's like Star City, Gotham City. These are the institutions I care about. Essentially, I want basically the cities of the DC universe to be shining examples.
That
You
you
know,
can fly over in stunning IMAX.
yep. And of course, he's talking about alternative forms of power, alluding to kind of the kryptonite, kind of power source thing, and to keep them a shining, keep them shining. And he wants to give back and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, so then of course we kind of the commercial kind of the boom enters the frame, and the Lex kind of snaps here. He's just like he's very ticked off, and then we see the B-roll. Essentially, we kind of cut behind the camera and see what goes into the making of this thing. Right?
I
It's like,
love the wig bits.
yeah, okay, the wig. That's what I'm saying. This is a full on like a Nolanized version of a Gene Hackman thing, where Gene Hackman wore the wig because they didn't want to shave his head, so they. So this is kind of like funny that sir, you have to wear. I love one of the things I'm so proud of this thing for, because it shows you they love the animated series both for Batman and for Superman. We got Mercy in there, Lex's assistant from the animated series. Mercy being
Yeah, that was definitely a good pull.
yeah. So
I like how
63%.
she's just mercilessly firing people, and that's her whole bit.
Yeah. It's just Lex having a temper tantrum, and just like people are getting fired left and right with the teleprompter. Like, I know how to read. It's just the print. It's just. So the point is, it's a horrible shoot with Lex anyway. Is Slice and Mercy's like telling, look, 63% of the voters trust men with hair. Like, where are you getting those statistics, Mercy? So then we're cutting to the actual B-roll again with the found footage. We go back to the found footage thing from the camp, from the behind the scenes footage with Jack Ryder, who was doing an interview with Summer Gleason being the interviewee. Sorry, not an interviewee. She's doing the interview. He's the cameraman. So they recast Jack Ryder, and still Jack Ryder, he's always the weak link of this to me. Jack Ryder still stinks.
I wonder why.
Yeah, it's not. So Jack Ryder, he's still not great. I mean, here we made him more of a bumbling doofus. Here's the thing: he was a bumbling doofus,
I
and
was
now
not. I mean, needless to say, I was not crazy about the breast gag.
well, the reason that's in there, Tiki, is so in the previous season, they had remember he was spying on Harleen and Ivy behind the scenes, and he was
Oh, I know, and I just don't think we should be playing creepiness as comic relief. I
but
don't know.
again, creepy because he becomes a character called the Creeper.
Right.
Which
but
yeah, go on.
I mean, that makes sense, but it's still just the fact that we're doing it like with comedy just feels. Is that kind of part of the whole 10 years ago thing that you were alluding to?
No, not at all. Actually, no. It's
Oh, okay, okay.
I'm referring to something you're not even thinking about right now.
Oh, Jesus! All right.
Trust me, you won't think about it for a few.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
On you for a
Just
while.
leave it at that.
Regardless, but no. My point is, they did. I think I don't even know if the Creeper as a character was really was creepy in that regard. And I think they just kind of modernized the Creeper namesake, and that's why we kind of gave Ryder that thing. But regardless, it's the fact that Jack Ryder was always
he's honestly not even really like creepy. He's more so just I don't know, like just outwardly sexist.
Well, I think he just feels something kind of like Some he's kind of sleazy doofus to a degree. I don't know.
I guess, yeah, like
But
kind of like
that's the
a
thing.
lame, jerky version of Norm from the Ninja Turtles.
Sure, but the
Vern, I'm sorry, Vern, not Norm.
right. Well, that's the thing, too. It's just ultimately, it's just, the first season. Jack Ryder again. They recast the actor, and I don't think either of them improved it. It just feels like he was just kind of like we always put a lot of weird comedy on the Jack Ryder. It didn't really feel right. And then it was, and of course, the way they had that with the way they intercut the footage. Unless you see the movie version, you're just going to get like all Jack Ryder. It's going to get old real fast. And now it's like a little snippet of Jack Ryder's like, what's his big reintroduction? It's like, making B-roll jokes about breast. Like it's not great. He
Yeah,
does get a little better he gets better as it goes on, but it's just it's not
it's
great.
hard to get worse.
Exactly. So it's not a glowing recommend. So I always admit Jack Ryder. Jack Ryder to me was always the weak point of the Joker blogs, and that one episode with Lyle that you apparently like, which surprises me. But yeah. Anywho, so point being, Summer Gleason's doing an interview. We set her up during the kind of the aftermath episodes of the Joker blogs in the first season. Of course, Summer Gleason from Batman the Animated Series. So Lex has a meeting with Miranda Tate in an hour at Wayne Enterprise. He wants to get this Arkham board meeting done and kind of wash his hands of it and get out of there.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Miranda Tate, Dark Knight Rises, little Easter egg there. Kind of building that. She's running the place right now. Bruce Wayne's very much.
Are we going to see an actress play Miranda Tate?
Well, that would be telling.
Okay, sorry. I'm going to assume that we will.
I could be putting you on though. Anyway. So Lex has a meeting, and he's making like some hilariously insensitive jokes about like blind paraplegics. And Mercy just keeps throwing statistics at him, which is kind of a fun affect to give her in this interpretation. It's like the whole again, if he's going to be running for president, she's kind of this campaign manager automatically. So it's kind of funny to give her kind of that sort of update, which I've never seen with Mercy before. She's usually like the muscle or the Harley Quinn to Lex.
Mm-hmm.
So. Anyway, so of course she informs him that he has an interview, so he has to play a little nice to the reporters. All right, let's see. So, anyway, so the point he's such a. By the way, how much of a prick is Lex in this? By the way, but delightfully
He's
so.
a delightful prick.
He's just making Mercy carry all the bags and everything. Anyway, so I just love it. He's so mean. Like he gets Summer Gleason's name wrong. Like, listen, Autumn, it's Summer. Yeah, basically, you can't come up to the Arkham board meeting because guess what? You're not an Arkham board member. Even Genius here gets it. And I like that he kind of likes Jack Ryder because as stupid as he is, he at
I
least
could see how he and Jack Ryder are kind of like cut from the same cloth to a certain extent.
To an extent, but I think deep down what I think is he it's kind of like an homage to it's a very light homage to Lex and Otis from the Christopher Reeve Superman, where this Lex being paired with a really dumb guy, just kind of as
oh yeah, for sure.
All right, so then we have the elevator transition here, where they go into the elevator, and then we have the guard coming out of the elevator. So basically, Summer Gleason's doing her interview on the way up to the Arkham board meeting, which is going to be important later. They're all heading to this Arkham board meeting, which is definitely going to play into later.
I assume, like, if I'm just predicting things, there's probably going to be some sort of like situation where all the Arkham board members are holed in some sort of hostage situation. I don't know. I'm just guessing. I don't know.
Of course, Mercy, his bodyguard, and kind of number two is locked out of the elevator. So Lex is very unprotected here. That's going to be important. Mm-hmm. So we have these Arkham guards kind of making banter. So is there cake in the building?
Oh God! Now this is this whole cake bit.
Oh no, the cake's not there yet. We're getting to the cake.
I'm sorry.
I'm saying like they're mentioning they have like this Breaking Bad shot where he's like scratching at the stain on his shirt.
Oh right.
Yeah, which has to be a nod to Breaking Bad, but at least that little mystery.
Yeah.
Anyway, so point these guards are kind of doing a security sweep, but we have someone who has a mastery of the security of Arkham Asylum, who serves a very, very important role in that regard. Lockup. Lyle Bolton, Lockup, who we set up. He's doing his full lockup thing here, and he has an actual purpose for being here.
I really do like the costume too.
Yeah, Lockup looks great. He's a lot better. Again, I hated the only episode of the Joker Blogs period I never liked was that one Lockup episode where he's doing like the weird Skype conversation with the ex girlfriend, which is super convenient. And here he's brought in here for a very practical reason. Arkham needs to take over Arkham Asylum. He needs someone who has a beef with the Joker and the place that fired him. And it's going to be his plus his kind of his brother in suffering during that kidnapping thing. He's going to trust Lyle Bolton. Lyle Bolton's going to get it done. So this guy can easily evade security and knock everyone out. He's hitting people with bats and taking out the guards, and he's basically taking over the place for him.
Now, what I'm really looking forward to with this whole setup that we have is it kind of gets into the Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Man's Chest, which I know is a weird analogy, but the reason I like that movie so much is that we have different antagonists vying for power, and that is I love that whole dynamic, Dragon. It's so juicy to me.
Oh yeah, for sure. There are people with different agendas in this season. I will tell you that much. Mm-hmm. That's going to be something fun to see unfold because obviously the Joker has his agenda. Lex, of course, being very much, his presidential aspirations, but also he is.
I know it's a weird analogy, but it very much does feel like how the good Pirates of the Caribbean movies are morally ambiguous.
Yeah. So meanwhile, again, Harleen is heading to the Arkham board meeting, and Pearl meets her. This
Not just Harleen, Dragon, but
Pearl
and Pearl. Yeah, and I think they've done a really great job of developing Pearl in a natural way, much like how Nolan would develop a small but important side character like this. Pearl is honestly one of the big things that gives this a Nolan flavor to me, kind of that everyman sort of perspective. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
No, yeah, for sure. I mean, the really cool thing here, it also kind of parallels the Dr. Arkham to a degree, is the fact that these are people that survived the whole Wedding Day Massacre event, as in they're kind of friends in arms. No one could say it, but again, Harley and Pearl were already friends, and Pearl's supposed to be at the wedding. And I believe the implication, if I recall, is that Pearl was supposed to be the maid of honor, but again, she got kidnapped and put into the trunk. Then Ivy had to, Pamela had to step in. So that's the thing. So, and it kind of parallels kind of like Arkham teaming up with Lockup. Again, they were both kind of hostages of the Joker, and basically, the point is all the victims. I like we spent
poetry, it rhymes.
All the further evidence was dedicated to the victims of the pretty much almost entirely dedicated to the victims of the Joker and what he did in the first season. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of nice to see all that payoff here. So Pearl is offering Harleen, just she knows that she went down there because again she's on top of everything because Harleen's basically the head doctor and Pearl is kind of like the ranking nurse at Arkham now. So she kind of knows that she went down to the secure level 2, basically where the Joker's being held. And yeah, she's no way you can stall from me, can you? Nope. I wonder what rogues gallery's up there waiting for, which is a cute. It's a little on the nose.
That felt like a perfect level of Nolan poking fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So let's see. So here's sign the file with Tiki. Plant the flag. I hope you have your flag planting hand ready.
Oh Jesus. Okay.
Okay. So one of the board members wants a visit with patient 4479, and let's just say I don't think it's Lex Luthor.
Okay.
I'm just going to say that much. I have a theory as to which board member it is, but I don't think it's.
Sure you obviously know.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so also in this, there's a doctor in her office, which again is kind of set up for what happens later. Because there was a doctor in her office, just the last doctor she'd want to see. All right, so Pearl mentions that she was in maximum security with the Joker, and they had this really nice moment where she gives her like a hug of support and kind of comfort there, of just like it's like a wordless encounter. She just hugs her and gives her like the release that she needs right there. And then, did you kick his butt? Yeah, because she hates that guy. All right, so Lockup's in the security room. And he's basically taken over the place, shuts down the cameras. Then, Tiki, we have the big scene.
Yep, the cake. Oh my god.
Yes, we just cut to the cake. Just cut to the cameras are being turned off.
Needless to say, Ted, I think, absolutely it's fair to say he's the big fan favorite of the whole series, right?
Oh
I
yeah, for
would
sure.
guess.
Yeah, again, for me, Ted is just period. Honestly, just across all Batman media, to me, even more. I would say even more than Bob the Goon. A lot of people are going to gasp at that, but seriously, Ted.
Gasp like the group gasp.
Yeah, I, I think Ted's like the best Joker henchman ever. I really do. I just think it's an insanely
Well, I
good
mean, I
concept.
dig his look for one thing. I
Yeah.
mean, the guy just has a like he just looking at his face, he looks like a man who has been through some shit.
What do you think? They added the beard this season. Last season there was no
Oh, I
beard.
think it looks great.
Right? Yeah. My favorite detail is still it's suspicious as all get out, but again, it shows you how much the Arkham guards care. He's got a ski mask on as his hat.
Right,
Because
right.
that's the thing. And that was always the question behind the camera of the Joker vlogs, where he did pull down that ski mask. Then we cut it. Then he's behind the camera when he takes over. So is he wearing that ski mask down the whole time after that, or he may or may not? It's unclear. But yeah, so he's here. He's bringing a cake that says "Happy Birthday," and this is kind of a meta contextual gag, by the way. It's subtle in that the Joker blog started, and the intention was 4479 is Heath Ledger's birthday, so it's always like a
Hmm,
tribute to Heath Ledger's birthday. So the fact that it's the Joker's birthday when they're doing this, not that it premiered that day, but just kind of like, hey, it's the Joker's birthday, which is why we do this
sure,
whole
sure.
thing essentially. So of course, did you make this cake yourself? And of course, you know me. I love this one guard. Unfortunately, I still don't know the actor's name, but he radiates like pure like down to earth, like grounded. Like this is you absolutely buy. This is like there's a Batman character out of the comics. It feels like a generic Arkham guard. He feels perfect for like
Right, totally, totally.
it's like perfect character actor, and also helps. He doesn't look like a college student, as we said with this guy. Looks
That,
and
that
it
definitely
helps.
helps, yes.
Yeah.
Probably like one of the college janitors or something they got.
He reminds me so much of Frank Grillo. Remember,
Yeah,
Cross
yeah,
Country?
totally, totally.
Reminds me so much of Frank Grillo, like a tough as nails guy who would be a guard. Says used to be a chef. Of all the occupations, Ted used to be a chef as well. You do know the prisoner can't have any cake. I know. I'm gonna eat in front of him. The whole
God,
thing.
the whole thing?
So okay, there's two things about this. So one, I just again Andrew DeVary, the writer and co-director of the Joker blogs, plays Ted the Bum.
Mhm.
And the thing too, I love with the whole thing. It feels like it's the corruption of Gotham, the corruption of the Arkham guards. Like we want cake too. That's essentially what that is. Essentially, that's them. Like, can we have some?
Oh my god.
So then they enter, and these I just love these. At first, you see the guards with like plates with cake and spoons and everything. It's a spoon for a spoon for a very
Yeah, they
good
are
reason.
not so subtly just chowing down on that cake in the background.
So they enter, and we hear this great Joker line, especially given everything that happened in the first season, because essentially one of his other motivations, he did all this for wedding cake. I'd kill for a piece of cake. The whole reason, in theory, he killed. He killed so many people. He killed Harleen's groom at that wedding to get his cake, and the best man to get cake. In a perfect world, he would have walked out with like a foil wrapped piece of cake, but it would have been a little much for a Nolanized version. Would have been a little much. Anyway, so Ted tells him they said I couldn't give you any. Well, I guess I'm gonna have to kill him. Big echoey kind of room.
I love the shot where they do not, it doesn't even register with the guards.
Yeah, because at this point the guards have a superiority over the Joker,
Yeah,
which is like
yeah.
which is the
That to me was like one of my favorite moments of the whole episode.
and I like how he built this in that further evidence thing, where the idea the guards are beating him on a regular basis. Joker is seemingly as helpless as he could be, and they're enjoying it. And again, the mob's paying them to beat the crap out of him.
Mhm.
And yeah, so they are they're not afraid of him, which is a terrible mistake to make any time with the Joker. Always be afraid of him. Be 15 feet away from him at all times. I would recommend. So so yeah, so the Joker is just frankly insulted. Guards here, they don't even pay attention. They won't even let us have forks or knives anymore. Which is
How
a
about
good.
food?
We got spoons. Now this is really cute, and again, I love all these subtle references to the first season where of course, he escaped the first time using a fork that Harleen gave him, and he did this disappearing trick with the spoon that Ted, with the fork that Ted does with the spoon here. And this leads to my favorite performance bit with the Joker in the whole episode. By the way, I love this. This charms me to no end and makes me love that Ted character even more. Ted does Joker's magic trick, and Joker gives him
Yes.
this proud Papa look at him, this thumbs up from Poppy look, where he just gives him that look of like recognition of I've taught you well. Essentially, he says, "So Ted, how's the wife? How's life? The house, the wife, the kid? Sucks. Still hates. Still homeless. Still hates me. Daughter still hates me. Still divorced. Still want to die? Yes. Good. Just
Good.
perfect exchange. Again, these two being friends in real life really helps that dynamic just kind of pop.
Totally.
All right, so essentially, the reason Ted is here, that we're in a coded conversation. Basically, this is a coded check-in. That's why Ted's here. He's basically giving the download. Ted was instructed by the Joker to keep tabs on Dr. Arkham. That was Ted's job while he was outside. Ted is inside right now because Arkham's making his move, and basically in a coded way saying, "So how's Dad, Mom, Aunt Lyle?" Who's making fun of the girl's name on Lyle. Dad's sad because he can't wake up Mom for the party. And I thought you were watching, Dad. I am. Of course, then he's inquiring about if Lex Luthor's here, but that was not in part of the code, so he has to improvise.
Goes over his head.
Uncle Rex.
Uncle Rex.
Rich, bald Uncle Rex, who owes me a big birthday present, which is to be speculated, my friend. I still don't know this myself. Just what necessarily the unfinished business is. So yeah, the unfinished business from the first season. That again, like he has unfinished business with Lex because he got put into Arkham, but you think Joker wants a little bit more out of him, which I assume was Batman showing up, but apparently not so. So it's up in the air. Anyway, so Lex Luthor, oh, he's here, and of course says it out loud, and apparently the guards have finished their cake.
I love the almost jump cut to the guards just being right on top of them as soon as they say that.
And I love just like the look here. Is this time up already? So Ted quickly gives him a hug as he's being carted away, and save me a piece of cake, Ted. Ideally, one with a gun in it. Of course, we know how that pays off. All right, so then we have the reveal that Joker has been slipped a spoon, which he's using to tear through the straitjacket. He's probably worn by wiggling in it for a long while, I'd imagine. So, lockup. He's placing Arkham on lockdown. Bum bum bum. Namesake. So back to the elevator. So many elevators in this. Now the elevator has been shut
Elevators
down.
are a nice, quick, and efficient way to film a location and have a bunch of tension dragging.
Oh, for sure, yeah. I'm just ask Steve Rogers.
Just ask M. Night Shyamalan. He did a whole movie in an elevator.
Yep. Wait, he directed that? I thought he
no, he didn't actually direct it.
That's what I thought.
That's why M. Night Shyamalan presents kind of deals.
That's why I hesitated to bring up Shyamalan.
I think he wrote it, though. I'm pretty sure he wrote it.
It probably didn't help. So, okay, so we have Harleen and Pearl. They haven't heard from Dr. Elliot, which, if you recall from further evidence, we know what's happened with Tommy Elliot. He's in a trunk right now.
Yep.
Then the lights go out, and boy, oh boy, I love how we kind of check in with all of our figures. Like they're stuck in the elevator, the lights go out on them, and Ted's eating the cake as the emergency lights go on.
I love that, and now I feel like the last few minutes of this episode very much feels like kind of like how Nolan edits and cross cuts in his to build tension.
Oh, for sure,
action scenes.
Yeah, it's a little like the interrogation scene where he kind of cut between.
Definitely, yeah.
All right, so then Joker's being dollied away in like the little kind of Hannibal Lecter rig. He's being kind of dollied out back into the maximum security, out of the visitor room. And he asked them, did I tell you guys the joke about the security guard with the broken glass in his stomach? Which he mentioned to the Sharp, who eventually becomes Warden Sharp in the Arkham games. He mentioned the Sharpie. Mm-hmm. And it makes me think something horrible happened to Sharp. I don't think he's dead, but I think Joker probably stabbed him with glass. I like to think that's what happened. Mm-hmm. No, we've all heard that one. But I want to know where he gets the glass in his stomach. ever the security guard who wants to know how to prevent that sort of thing. So where'd you get that glass? So then this, tell me how wonderfully shot is this, Tiki? So the lockdown happens, and the lights go out one by one down the
Yeah,
hall,
it's
and the
very
two
cinematic. Yeah.
the two guards just looking there, and just one by one they go out. It feels very much like a Scott Snyder bit. It feels
Mhm.
like something he would write with, like, in his in the the death of the family comic with the Joker in, almost. So
Sure,
Joker
sure.
Joker smiles, and in the darkness he makes his move. To quote the Batman, he's made his move. Just, oh god, the emergency power is going to be back on a second. Of course, Joker's freed himself. You hear a glass breaking, lights on. One of the guards, he's the straight jacket is open and hanging on the dolly. One of the guard, I think his name's Marshall. He's on the ground. He's dead. And Joker has broken the fire extinguisher glass, and that's where he got the glass from. And he's basically stabbing the cool guard right in the stomach. And as he does this, I always love this detail. They play the Arkham, like the little tone, the Arkham tone from the Arkham Asylum video
Mhm,
game.
mhm.
Dun 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 dun. And just the Joker smiles at this because he knows, oh boy, the other guy's making his move right now.
Yeah, that was some really solid diegetic sound editing.
Oh yeah. So, in great irony, to the Arkham games, in fact, Dr. Arkham takes control instead of the Joker, which is really funny.
It is a really trippy kind of turn of events, isn't it?
And again, because Maloney was so darn good that he got this big a
Uh-huh.
role, because essentially Dr. Arkham is the heavy this season, essentially, It's trippy. So we have this awesome speech from
Was
Steve
it kind of like
Maloney.
the Gus Fring where it's like we know that the Joker is bad, but he's worse?
Kind of, yeah. Well, I mean,
Ooh, interesting.
I
Interesting.
shouldn't say I don't know if that's accurate, because obviously it's the Joker, so maybe that's not the best. Maybe
Sure,
I might have
sure.
misspoke. The point, Arkham definitely, you empathize with Arkham because of what he's lost because of the Joker, and because of, like, the Lex Luthor. So Arkham hates Lex Luthor and he hates the Joker, so he's definitely gunning for revenge on everyone, which is why he's put the place on lockdown, which essentially is what he gets into here
Mhm.
with his big speech, which is just great. How he says, like, "Good." I love how he enters. Maloney's killing it in this monologue here. Good evening, good evening, Arkham Asylum. Basically, this message is for the doctors, the staff, the patients, and the prisoners. And I believe we use some stock footage from Batman Begins.
Mhm.
Basically, I'll refer to you basically, or otherwise known as guest. You've all been treated as guests up to this point. It gives them basically a history lesson, which is true, and also in the Arkham games. Arkham's been his family since Amadeus Arkham founded the place way back, for decades. And you've all found your way here one by one, and you've overstayed your welcome. And we see people. They were doing that cross-cutting thing, the Nolan-esque cross-cutting here. People are
Oh yeah.
fleeing in the chaos. Pearl wants to get out, but Harleen's not running, which, well, we'll see what happens to her. And we have a great bit of, now. Here's the bit with Lex I really love, by the way. This bit always fascinated me. It's a very subtle. It's a very slight bit. It's a very small bit, but I
Yeah,
love it.
it's really cool. Yeah, I liked it too.
Summer's kind of panicking in the elevator. Can you hear what they're saying? He says, "Shh." You see, again, we played some comedy with Lex, but then there's the smart guy right there in the elevator. He's listening to what's being said so he can assess the situation and
Mhm.
he can do his thing. All right, so let's see. So then, make no mistake, these are desperate times, and your options have run. Of course, as he says this, Ted finishes his cake. Tiki, why was he eating all that cake?
Because it's got a big old surprise right in the center.
Yep, not in the nail file like you'd expect, kids. Literally what the Joker said earlier. Next time with a gun in it.
Now, if I were to nitpick Dragon, I do think the proportions of the gun to the cake are a little too big, but whatever.
Well, I
Whatever.
think he assembled the gun, Tiki.
Is that how it worked? Okay, then never mind then. All
Now,
right,
mind
that
you,
makes
you might.
sense.
I'm no firearms expert. I could be. I always the assumption is that it was he had to assemble like a firearm. I think later
I'm
on you're
just
going to
saying I
see.
think it would have been a little bit more believable if it was just like a small handgun in the center.
No, you're right, but I think. But here's the thing: it's a shotgun. I think it's. We see it. We'll see it later on. I think it's a shotgun. So I don't know if technically you can assemble a shotgun. I'm not a
Mhm.
firearms expert, so that's, to me, that's the plot hole there. But it is implied to be he assembled that gun, and that's why he's cocking it at the end.
Sure.
So somehow that a big old gun was in a cake. I think the fact that it is oversized is even funnier.
Mhm.
But regardless, point being, Ted is simply put a gun in a cake instead of a nail file, which is a very Joker move, and I love that. So all the exits have been closed off. Arkham goes in saying all exits have been closed off except for the front door. The cells all simultaneously unlock, and we see some Batman begin shots. And he basically says, if you stay, you'll be a trespasser, and trespassers will be hunted and put down.
Mhm.
This is Arkham kind of doing a most dangerous game, sort of like shooter lockdown sort of thing, while he's exacting his revenge, presumably. Harleen, she runs to her office, and who's waiting for her in her office?
It's none other than Lyle, right?
No, it's the Scarecrow.
Oh, right. I'm sorry. They both have masks. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, one's a potato sack, but yeah.
Well, the Scarecrow is also kind of a potato sack.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Scarecrow is the potato sack.
Oh,
It's kind of hard to. Anyway, so
okay. Anyways, I want my office back.
And he gasses her with fear toxin.
And so I'm really liking the direction we're going here. I'm guessing that Harleen is going to be sort of like brainwashed in a similar way to Two-Face, and I'm loving those parallels so far.
Let's just say she's going to go on a little trip, my friend. So let's see. So basically, Arkham's saying he's taking back what's his. This is my home. Of course, then when he says "this is my home," we cut to the Joker brutally murdering the Scar by twisting the glass that's in his stomach. It's just so brutal and painful. And so again, I like to think this response again. Joker always views Arkham as his home, as his Batcave. So Arkham is kind of a battle for who rules Arkham Asylum with the fall of the House.
Oh yeah, I definitely took it as like Joker is definitely going to stay, and he's going to try and get other people to stay with him.
Oh yeah.
And that's how we're going to get the Arkham status quo of it basically being, the loony people are running the asylum, essentially.
Very operative choice of words, Tiki, because I love that he says that, and then he gives a very Daffy Duck response, which Mark Hamill, when he played the Joker, at times he would give Joker Daffy Duck affects. So you have like this moment of course you realize this means war.
I love that. Yeah.
Then he twists the knife, killing the guy, and he says, "Ta-da!" Boom.
All right.
Yeah, that's all she wrote for part 1.
Yeah, I'm very impressed so far, and I see that part 2 is going to be even longer. So, we'll see how they do with those ambitious runtimes. But so far, so good.
Yeah, we're getting close to like the essentially a half-hour TV show, practically. Yeah. So I mean, final thoughts, Tiki. What do you think?
That's all. It's just very good. I don't have a lot. I'm not good at final thoughts, Dragon. I'm really not.
Well, again, I think this is just we're off to a bang with episode 1. Again, all the pieces have been assembled carefully thanks to further evidence. But I like that. Had you not seen further evidence, do you think you'd still be blown away by this?
Yeah, probably, maybe to a lesser degree, just because it did obviously do a lot of solid character work.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think I would still really like it. Yeah.
So I just like that. Just the last part of my final thoughts is, in general, I'm so blown away by how different it feels than the first season, and there is a cinematic, kind of again. Look at Batman. Batman Begins is an excellent character study, and obviously there's a lot of great stuff there. And of course, The Dark Knight is a very different flavor of a movie, but it's still it's a dark movie. It's kind of the dark middle chapter of the trilogy, if you will. So again, in that respect, Joker Blogs is kind of going in that direction, but they're kind of aiming to do the Dark Knight of kind of their story, which is so odd given they are in kind of the spin-off of the Dark Knight practically. So it's a head trip. But yeah, it's off to a great start. And I'm of course we're going to go in some very interesting directions with things, and as we kind of see the characters in this crisis that is unfolding before them.
All right. Okay, well, our time's up, and it's time to reseal the further evidence until our next session when we attempt to answer the question, is there a method to the madness with the Joker Blogs case study?
I used to be a chef.
Nice work, pal.